This is another poem from the collection Some Winged Wild Beast, published by Black and Red in 1985. Black and Red out of Detroit, in my hometown. And there's a odd story to begin this long poem. It was never published in any other way than this collection, although I had sent it to River Styx, which is still publishing in Missouri, and I think, and long story short, I got back one of those rating scale things that is only supposed to be passed around. Then it was, of course, passed around before computers, amongst the people who had, made their own selections and rated by number. And of course my number was high, but it wasn't high enough. So, and of course the press was very embarrassed that they had sent this private rating scale to me. So here, 4 gates to the city, Alleluia. And it begins with a quote from one of my favorite poets, maybe my most favorite influence when I was younger, William Butler Yeats, Crazy Jane. Oh, I really like those poems. Crazy Jane talks with the bishop. A woman can be proud and stiff when on love intent, but love has pitched his mansion in the place of excrement. For nothing can be soul or whole that has not been rent. 1. The North. What did she know of the bee-loud glade? City born and city made, she couldn't see the sky above her clotted with stars. She dutifully memorized the questions the bishop would ask. She studied faith and how to gracefully kneel and kiss the ring on his outstretched hand. She hadn't met the part of her that wanted to spit on his soft, fragrant flesh. I know her now. In the metropolis, she built her individual elevator shaft, installed subdued lighting, covered the rising, plummeting walls with bright shields of copper, elegant and safe. This was before the era when copper theft was rampant. In her dreams, armed men on maneuvers, sound familiar, crouch beneath blighted elms. She is wrapped in a green bath towel and watches one of the men extend a khaki-covered arm in her direction. Does this mean she is afraid to be naked or afraid to be touched? The man reaching for her is tall and gaunt, like her father. No, the city of the future will not be livable, is not livable now. There is an island of ice rising in the river, shard upon shard, heaped like broken glass, broken lives stacked high, almost to the stars. In another dream, another life, there is a bakery run by dark foreign men, open to the dark, the winter night. The light, the hot smell of bread beckons. She moves icy feet through dirty snow. Her eyes are open, staring into the welcome of the bakery. It is New Year's Eve. She buys poppy seed cake. My parents met on a New Year's Eve during World War II. 2. The South. This is a quote from a collection that had just come out called Shopping Bag Ladies, and a particular homeless woman called Seva Forrest. If you murder a city, you murder a nation. And what, she asks, struggling to her swollen feet, in the dark, the cold alley, the empty gutted storefront, the glaring fluorescence of the bus station at 2 a.m. What about the self? She is walking a city street with her parents and brother. Deep in the heart of summer twilight, in the sky is a bird's egg of fragile blue-green light. And air moves on her skin, a gentle mouth. She runs across the boulevard, dodging the swift and deadly cars of the night. She is whole, holy, running toward the rib joints, reeking of stale grease, running toward the knots of young men on street corners and winos peeing on themselves. Yes, she is running in the night toward the melting ice and the river, toward the harsh neon of strip joints, massage parlors, the pornography of desperate women selling tired flesh. She is running past all threat and danger, her feet pounding the hot pavement, the taste of metal in her mouth, the emissions of too many cars and factories and not enough green room thick in her throat, the acrid smell of defeat and disgust at her nostrils, eager to worm its way inward. She is running toward the hungry police, brutal in their bored blue uniforms. She is running past the crowded stoops of summer, peopled in the humid dark with the rise and fall of laughter. The anonymous camaraderie of the city covers her like a cloak, a benediction, a blessing. A section of this appeared in Future Cycle. Future Cycle is What Poets See. It came out a couple years ago. 3. The East. When she sinks into the submarine violence of the streets, she is paralyzed by what-ifs, the fear of dismemberment. She comes to a tunnel, cement columns seeping poisoned water. The rumble of trucks and cars from the surface street sounds like a distant ocean. A man follows her. He is elderly, black, harmless, and puffed up with patter. She turns her back to him, and the light and shadow trick her. When she comes out into the open, the man is white, dangerous, threatening. He grabs her in broad daylight. She can see the news article buried in the papers. Another woman raped and dead. How sad, how predictable. What does this have to do with me? A reader asks. Here in my high-rise with the silent elevators and uniformed doorman, the TV cameras scanning the carpeted halls, and my view, my flush toilet, the never-ending supply of hot water high above the city. What does any of this have to do with the garbage disposal in my sink? The man lunges at her. It is Detroit, or L.A., New York, Cleveland, or a smaller town in Kansas, or Nebraska, even Montana. But wherever it is that he grabs her, no one offers to help. Because this is a dream, she hops a bus thinking, here is the way out. Instead, she is trapped and spends days lost on the streets searching for her stop. She is the only passenger, and the driver never speaks. She knows she is in trouble. She knows she wants to get off, but how? When she pulls the cord, the man at the wheel ignores the bell. His back tells her he's tired of jumping like a trained dog, tired of a regular route, paychecks on schedule, and the usual deductions for union dues. She can't blame him. When she realizes she must discover a new language, find words to tell the man what it is she needs, stop, here, there, the bus dissolves, and she's out in the open, in a city, under siege. She prowls the streets with her cats, retrieving food out of aluminum garbage cans, thankful to be off the bus, on her own, avoiding the well-traveled paths, searching out the seldom-used alleys, choked with dandelions, tall grass, and hollyhocks, spiking pink and white ladders to the sky. We know where to look. We know where to go. Waiting in the night, in the city, on our own. 4. The West. It is summer. In this city, it is either summer or winter, your choice. She is reading poetry dressed in shorts. Her words fly up into the air like pigeons. Even though she stands in front of the crowd and everyone is seated row by separate row, there is a knocking together, bodies colliding at the solitary doors to self. It seems we are in a loft or a warehouse by the railroad tracks, but we are really leaning out the front door of the house on Piedmont. All our faces turn to the right. On the next block, fog swallows houses and the elms sacrifice limbs to the mist. There is no fog on our block. Now she is downtown, and she owns her city at last. She walks into a five and dime where the stench of cheap food, the odor of constrained lives, stabs the back of her mouth, and she is reminded of the sharp sting of salt water. 5. There's the pentagram. Let the circle be unbroken. Outside, across the brick plaza, a naked and tattooed black woman sits in the sun. She kneels in the center of a roped-off arena. Her tattoos undulate as she moves. She is holding a piece of dark walnut, working the wood smooth in her hands. She tells me the wood will be a ritual cutting board when she is finished. I fall back on my haunches. The sun-heated bricks warm my buttocks. I try to imagine what it is she will cut, what it is she will sunder. I can't be out in the streets due to circumstances beyond my control, so I won't bore the possible person watching this with those details, but being out on the streets when I was younger, peaceful protest and, sometimes witness, across the country, Detroit, New York, Seattle, the Straits of Juan de Fuca when the first Trident submarine came through in 1983, I think it was. Those times when I have been linked hand in hand, arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder, with people who wanted to make change, were the best of times. And I miss them. So, yesterday's poem and today's poem are because I cannot be in Ferguson or Baltimore or Staten Island or any of the places that I would like to be. I'm lucky to be alive and in my own home, owned by the bank, but that's another story. And that seemed like I should offer these older poems, some 30 plus years. And today is the 40th anniversary of the fall of Saigon. So on that note, keep it on.